The air, water, earth, and sun awes us. The four awesome forces of nature can provide 1,000 times more energy than we need. You are also awesome. You and me and all Earthkind are the fifth element. We are literally changing the world. Technology is now harnessing nature's awesome power for electricity, heat, and transportation. And the best news is that the clean energy transition can save us money and create a more prosperous, just, beautiful, and sustainable civilization today. Welcome to the Awesome Earthkind podcast. If you would, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where do you live, what kind of work do you do?
Well, thank you, Ron Kamen, for having me on your show this afternoon or this evening, whenever it is. My name is Michael Murphy, and I'm with Murphy Brothers Contracting, as you can actually read it on the shirt right over here. Murphy Brothers Contracting. Sorry?
Oh, for those people who aren't watching the podcast, who are just listening, they have a hard time seeing through their podcast audio, but that's okay. Murphy Brothers Contracting, indeed. And you are called Michael Murphy, and yet you're not one of the brothers, are you?
That's true. My last name is Murphy, not Murphy Brothers. And I've been with the Murphy Brothers for about 10 of their 41 years. My responsibility with them, let me tell you, Murphy Brothers is a general contracting firm that was started by Sean and Chris Murphy back in 1979. They started in the Larchmont Mamaroneck area of Westchester County. They started doing small, like remodeling type jobs, and just started doing larger and larger projects, so that they developed themselves this great reputation throughout the Westchester, Southern Fairfield County in Connecticut, and the lower Hudson Valley for high-end homes, both new custom homes and complete renovations. And in the last 10 years or so, they've opened up a division for light commercial work, which focuses on, in that same area, private club work, equestrian facilities, self-storage, office build-outs, and mid-rise multifamily building. And I say mid-rise multifamily, 60 feet, which is like 5 stories over retail or parking. And so my position with them is business development.
Outstanding. So, Michael, we like to ask folks if they have an inspirational quote that you'd care to share that helps set the mindset for folks, a little different perspective. Do you have one?
Yeah, I have a quote. Since I don't think I read that list that you sent out there. I have to reach under my computer to find it, because I've written it down here, and I sort of covered it up. I can find it. It's a quote from Socrates, and the quote is, "I know one thing, that I know nothing."
I know one thing, that I know nothing, by Socrates.
Yes. Now, let me tell you how that relates to the world of business development, Ron Kamen. In fact, this can relate to anybody's business. You see, the rule number one in business development is that you cannot assume that people know what you do. So whether you are an energy consultant or a contractor, whether you run a restaurant, no matter what you do, you make a mistake if you assume that people know what you do. You have to tell them what you always look for, that opportunity to make sure that they understand what it is that you do, why you wear that shirt, why you have that logo on the back of your screen, that kind of thing.
Outstanding. So, speaking of why do you do what you do? And in particular, how does it apply to clean energy technologies there, Mr. Murphy?
Interesting point. And again, I said I've been working with Murphy Brothers for about 10 years of that 41 years that they've been in business. And I'm going to take it back to a story about 10 years ago, when we did a project with Westchester Magazine, which is the lifestyles magazine for Westchester County. And at that time, we were collaborating with them, and their their sponsors and advertisers to do a dream home in Westchester County. It was gorgeous. They called it the Dream Home. And it was the first of they had a model of doing these over and over again. So we built this amazing house at the time. I mean, it really was. It was truly amazing. Every single room was designed by a different designer. If you could imagine, it was just a cool thing. Had a bar and a pool table in the basement. Back then, 10 years ago, it had an entertainment room where you could lounge back in the chair and watch movies at high volume. And when we were being interviewed by these docents that were going to give people on the tour of the facility, and the one thing that they said, oh, we put all this great stuff in the house. The one thing that they were interested in is tell us about the green things in the house. Tell us about the sustainability of the house. These docents were asking us, and we looked at each other and went, what's so green about? So we realized that this is a very important thing, and maybe that people should take advantage, or we should take advantage of the opportunity to learn something about this. So from that experience, and you can stop me anytime because I'm going to keep rambling on here. And that experience, what we did was we started hosting a series of continuing education presentations for the building design community. This was 10 years ago. To introduce ideas, because they were new to us, we thought they'd be new to the architects as well, that would make a building more energy efficient, both the materials and the methods of construction. And we've been doing that for 10 years now, and we probably hosted well over 100 of them. And when we started out, we had an audience of about 15 people that showed up for it. We thought that was great. Now we've had as many as 200. That's been actually not live, but on Zoom presentations we've done. So, and we're always looking for different means, methods, materials that we can introduce into the building design community to get them to incorporate these into their design work. So.
Outstanding. So could you talk about some of those clean energy measures you guys incorporate into your buildings now?
Well, interestingly enough, we do a lot of geothermal. So we have done, in fact, it's only in recent years that we've started to switch over to air source heat pumps. And that all started when we built on our property in Mamaroneck, New York. We developed a self-storage facility, which is small by most standards. It's only 40,000 square feet, but it's a 40,000 square foot big building that uses energy. And we considered using geothermal, but we were advised to use air source heat pumps at the time because the air source heat pumps, this is going back 5 years ago, had become that much more better than they had been in the past. And so we put a gigantic Dakin system into our building, along with a big VFR, energy recover or air source or fan in there. And I remember on business development here. So, and we ended up building a building that is 40,000 square feet. We spend on average of about $1,600 a month on energy costs for an all electric building, which, from what I'm told, that most of that goes for the electric elevators that we have in the building. So the building went on to win a few awards. It was, for energy efficiency. And so, I'd say that it gave us an opportunity to put our money where our mouth was. We put it into our own building. And we were very proud of the fact that when one of the Murphy brothers was able to build his own house, and this was in Old Greenwich, that we built the house out of insulated concrete forms using air source heat pumps. And that too won a number of awards for energy efficiency as well.
So you've got air source heat pumps providing heating and cooling, as well as geothermal in certain applications. And then I take it you're doing a bunch of insulation work. So you tighten up that building envelope, right?
We certainly do. Although, in the past, everybody kind of leans into the spray foam insulation, and we're not so much opposed to that, but we're always investigating different forms of insulation or different ways of insulating the building so that we don't have to rely upon the spray foam.
Whoops. One of the most recent ones was the zip system, if I recall.
Which one?
Zip, zip.
The zip system. The zip system is an exterior sheathing that has become very popular, at least in the Northeast here. And I think I'd have to say that we use it on all of our buildings. So, which makes the zip people happy. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like the zip system, air source heat pumps, geothermal. And again, we've been, ever since back then, 10 years ago, we started doing geothermal on and just about every project we have done. And again, as I mentioned, that we started doing multifamily buildings. It was during that time that I connected with you, Mr. Kamen, and I learned a big lesson: is that that this energy efficiency also comes with a lot of money saving, or money rebates, or money incentives. And I realized that over the years, we have been remiss by not advising our clients, most of the clients on the investor developer side, that they should investigate clean energy opportunities to see where they might be able to incorporate this into their construction projects, where they can save money. They can either get federal or state tax rebates, incentives, and or cashback rebates from NYSERDA or from the local utility provider, such as Con Edison in our area. So subsequently, since that time, I have made Earthkind Energy an arrow in Murphy Brothers' quiver. So every time we talk to an investor developer, I said, hey, you're going to develop this nice building. Have you ever considered putting in energy efficient methods and means into the building, and where you'd be getting some money back from the local providers? So thank you for that, Ron. Open my eyes.
My pleasure, sir. And the reality is that a lot of the stuff, I mean, one of the first buildings you brought me into actually was doing a bunch of things, and just nobody realized that there were incentives to help make it even better. And if you had switched a couple of pieces of equipment around, you would have gotten even more. So yeah, I mean, the best time to think about this stuff is before you start, because once you start, it gets a lot harder when you're going down the road to be able to adjust, pivot, whatever, and it takes a lot more time, effort, and energy on everybody's part. So if you do it right from the beginning, sit down, take a look, think about the energy systems, how they integrate, tighten up the building, what incentives you can have, what type of heating, cooling, solar, electric, as much as possible. All of a sudden you could take advantage of all these incentives, and it just makes everything so much better, more worthwhile, and less costly in the long run. So
he's right, because I'll tell you something. If you're an investor developer that's listening to this podcast out there, and why wouldn't you be? You're going to learn something about making a better building. That if you're, the one thing you never want to do is leave money on the table. And if you don't investigate these opportunities, you are literally leaving money on the table. Now, and I appreciate what you bring to the table, Ron, because I think of myself as the Henry Ford in this situation. I get asked questions about energy efficiency equipment all the time, and I say, I might not be able to answer that, but I got somebody I can text and in 5 minutes get that answer, and that would be you. So, and I appreciate that, and thank you for helping me out with that.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and it's such a pleasure to work with an advanced home contractor and small commercial contractor who actually has an open mind about the technologies and looks to do the right thing, and has a concern about doing everything right from the beginning, which is wonderful.
Well, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way, but in this way, no, actually, it's interesting because back then, again, 10 years ago, someone wrote on the chalkboard, which was part of the kitchen pantry in this dream home. They wrote the words, "Nothing is greener than a Murphy brother home." And at the time, I'd say it wasn't true. I mean, but I did take a picture of that, and I refer to that often over the years and thought about, that's what we want to do. Now, we're not the developers. We're always building custom homes. We're relying upon the architect to design the building a certain way, or relying upon the interior designer to design the interior of the building a certain way. We're relying upon the landscape designer. So the engineer, all these people that are involved in these sophisticated projects. So, and we know these guys are smart. They know a whole lot more about stuff than we know. So we like to bring this information to the table and say, here it is.
Outstanding. So what do you see the forces that are driving the development of clean energy in the custom home market and the biggest trends you see it, Michael?
Youth. That's it. Youth.
Youth.
Youth, yes. 10 years ago, I'd say, or 5 years ago, it probably wouldn't mattered so much. The clients getting, I mean, they thought about it going, oh, that's great, but they'd focus still on the pool, or they'd focus on the media room, or they'd focus on something other than the tile in the bathrooms, but other than energy efficiency. But I think that as the clients get younger, they're brought up with this concept of, we can do something to make this a better place to live, and we can start in our home. And it's more than just recycling your beer cans. It's and your wine bottles. It's you can actually do something to make your home energy efficient. The other thing too is that we both know that, like in our place where we work, New York State, that we're heading towards a zero carbon built environment, so that they're going to require buildings to be built that way. And so I think that people are just accepting it. This is the way it is.
Yeah, so
it's the younger builder,
the younger clients are coming forth and saying, "This is what we want. This is what we need." And
okay, and so I'll give you another. The older client is saying, "Well, my kids want me to do something good for the environment." Okay, so let's start there.
There you go. Do it for your kids, right? If you're not going to do it for yourself. Yeah, that's a very good point. And you're absolutely right. I mean, basically, it's like if you do it now, you could take advantage in New York State of $2.5 billion worth of incentives, $1.5 billion for solar, $600 million for heating and cooling, $600 million for electric vehicles. And elsewise, it's similar with utility programs, but then it's 26% federal tax credit on solar and geothermal. There's other federal incentives to make stuff happen. So if you're not taking a look at this stuff, you are literally leaving money on the table. And you're building a building that really is not as comfortable. It's not as tight. It's not as healthy. It's not as efficient. And it's going to cost you more for all your energy stuff, in addition to polluting the planet. So, hey, why wouldn't you want to do that? Right. So, all right. Fantastic.
Now, if I could jump in there, you could say that you can mention the $2.5 billion, but when you can drop it back down into like an investor developer and say, yeah, we had a client that left $250,000 on the table, that all of a sudden becomes simply real. They go, whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
That's bottom line.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. People do relate.
So that brings it home.
Yeah. The other part is this, is that you can either take advantage of the incentives now and do it when it's an incentivized thing, or as we're seeing in New York City with Local Law 97, and as is coming throughout New York State with the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, and is happening nationally and internationally all around the world, there are now goals to hit carbon reduction. And in New York City, if you don't hit those goals in 2025, you start paying penalties. 50 cents. 50 cents per square foot. I have some clients that are looking at $1.2 million a year in penalties if they don't hit those greenhouse gas reduction goals. That's in New York City today, but it's going to be the same all over the state, all over the Northeast, all over the country. If you don't start hitting greenhouse gas reduction goals, you're going to start paying hefty. So, yeah, fascinating.
So I said we're a little bit ahead of the curve here, aren't we?
Exactly. And the good thing is that right now, if you do it now, you get all these incentives, you make an excellent return on your investment. I mean, literally 10 to 20 to sometimes 50% annual return on your investment. Who could ask for more, right? So it's a wonderful thing. All right. So how do you see the future emerging there, Mr. Murphy, with both new and renovated home contractors and carbon reduction? You see everybody's moving in this direction. Some people are slow. What do you think?
In some respects, I would say it's going to move slow. It moves slow. Everything moves slow in our, even though we think of ourselves in this part of the Northeast as being very progressive, very sophisticated, and we are in many ways. But I think in some of this stuff we're way behind the curve. And I think what's going to move it is it's going to be time will move it. It just will, because it's going to get that way. But it is the building codes change. The building codes tend to reflect what, like you were saying about local law 97 in New York City, when the building codes here in Westchester and in southern Fairfield, the areas we work, when they start to reflect that same push towards a zero carbon built environment, then you're going to see people going, okay, if I got to do it, I'm going to do it. Right now, they're still focusing on the tile in the pool. It's just, this is the nature of the beast around here. Now, it just before, recently I was on a call with an affordable housing group in our area, right in our village, the village of Amerenik. And our interest in that is that Murphy Brothers realizes that in Westchester County alone, we need probably about 15,000 units of housing of all sorts. And a lot of that should be affordable. We can't be chasing people, up to another county to come and work in our county. We have to have housing for everybody. So, and they're coming to the realization, but that affordable housing is not just affordable, it better be energy efficient as well. They better be thinking that way, because that is the future. I think you'll see a lot because it's going to become part of the building code, you'll see a lot of the affordable housing showing as we are an energy efficient building. They'll have to prove it. So you'll see a lot more of that, more so than on the private sector, like the single family home thing. That's going to lag behind a little bit.
So what you're really saying is that it's government policies and regulations that are going to drive a lot, huh?
As always. Well, actually, it's actually going to be the commercial world that's going to do it, but the government policy will follow behind it. Look at solar. Look at that big solar array behind you in that picture there. We talk about putting solar panels on people's houses, but you can only put small little bits of solar on people's houses. The real driving factor is that big, huge array that you want to see on commercial buildings, which super makes sense. And then by doing that, it brings the cost because they're making so many solar panels, makes the cost down on the residential stuff. But here in the Northeast, the way we build houses, because everybody likes, the cut up roofs with the gables and the little peaks and everything like that. We have to orient our house to the street and not east to west of the sun, or east to west of the sun. And because we've got trees all over, and we love our trees, it's very difficult for people to lean into solar and get a lot on the residential side. Commercial side, it's all kinds of opportunities around here. I'm sure you'll agree, Ron.
Yeah, and even on the residential side, it's a fascinating thing that the residential piece is still taking off. The reality is that a lot of people can't do solar on their roof, either because they have too many trees or there's other types of shade or whatever. So that's where these community solar projects make a tremendous amount of sense, where you put solar on top of a commercial building or in a parking lot or on the top of a landfill or other grounds. And now people in the community can participate and have the same benefits of solar, except that it's not on their roof. It's just in their community, and they're getting those same financial benefits and saving money and still having solar as a generation source. So lots of different things happening in policy wise that are making a real big difference and impact on how things get done. So, all right. Well, what kind of challenges have you encountered, and what lessons have you learned, and what are you doing differently now than you used to? I guess one of it was from 10 years ago, but if you'd expound a little bit more there, sir.
I think the big lesson is that we learned, and that we continue, we like to be team players, because as a construction company, both on the residential side and the commercial side, and as team players, because we've learned over the years that all successful projects are the result of teamwork, people working together. So we don't go into a project and bully our way through. We go into a project and we suggest. So and we've had a good track record of being able to suggest and getting things considered. So I think it's something that we will continue to do, that as we go along, that we'll continue to not be like educators, because got to maintain a little humility here. We're not the educators, we're more facilitators, and we'll continue to facilitate or provide a platform for people to talk about, debate, expose others to new methods of energy efficiency. For instance, one that I have upcoming that I think is really cool is the idea of the electric commercial kitchen. which is a presentation I'm hoping to do towards the end of the year, because I mean, it's just I mean, here's a concept. People say, well, you know, you're a commercial chef, you know, you work in these restaurants like the Wolfgang Pucks of the world. You've got to have gas. But what if there is no gas? You know, so and there are people that are investigating this and prescribing great methods of being able to cook in commercial kitchens, whether it's for, you know, the retail restaurant or for hospitals or schools, and do it with electric. So I'm looking forward to presenting that. We'll see where that goes.
Induction stoves, yes, indeed. Better control on the temperature, quick response. It's amazing technology, and it's all dealt with magnets, actually. So induction stovetop cooking.
Yeah, but you can't say, look at that flame. Look at that flame.
Yeah, no flames, which also means, by the way, better indoor air quality, because every time there's a flame, there's some amount of stuff that goes into the air and less danger, which is kind of cool, right?
Amazing,
so
isn't it?
No carbon monoxide hazards. So yes, indeed. So wonderful. All right. If you would say that there's one thing that people really should know, a unique tip, tool, or tactic, but most people don't, what would it be?
Turn your lights off when you're not using them.
Ooh.
That's kind of simple, isn't it? But you think about it. People leave their lights all over the place. Commercial buildings, lights on all over the place. Turn the lights off. Turn it off. If you're not using a room or a part of your building, turn the temperature down. Just do it. Figure it out. You got so much stuff at your house that's plugged in that you don't need. Unplug it. You're wasting energy. What are you doing that for?
Oh, very good point. And as a matter of fact, between lighting and your turning setbacks, thermostats, that type of thing, turning it back, there's a big energy savings there. And those vampire loads where you have equipment plugged in, whether it's your TV or your microwave or any other appliance, they call them vampire loads. That could be as much as almost 20% of your total electric usage in those vampire loads, just because just keeping them in standby mode still consumes energy, and it's 24/7. So very good point. Not only turn it off, but actually have a plug, either that you unplug it or just one of those little switches that turns it off. What do you call those? A wall. What is it when you have multiple things you plug in and you could just flip
Power
the switch?
strip.
A power strip. There we go. So I have a power strip.
Well, you said vampire.
Power.
I thought you're talking. I'm thinking, is he talking about a steak? A steak in that outlet?
Yeah, stake that outlet. No, just a vampire load, and turn it off with a power strip or some other mechanism. So you're exactly right. All right. So a lot of people in their careers had a kind of their down moment, and in those worst moments, it was they hit bottom and they kind of like looked at the world, it shifted their perspective, and then took them on a different path than they were on before. Would you care to share yours, sir, and what you learned from that?
Well, I guess I could say that it was when I had my own construction business, and it was a small business in comparison to the Murphy brothers. And I was contemplating the fact that I really didn't like the actual day-to-day running the business of, making sure that the plumbers and the painters showed up. And right about that time, one of the Murphy brothers came up to me and said, "Hey, would you like to come work with us?" And I said, "What would I be involved in?" He said, and he started naming the things, and they were all the things that I did like doing in the business. And that's basically what I'm doing now, which is business development. I go, I could do that. So that was the change right there. So I stopped actually. So actually, Ron, I don't really concern myself on how those projects get built. I know how they're getting built. I know the Murphy brothers, they have a system by which they operate and they adhere to, and all their guys adhere to, where they put for their first class all the way. But I have to concern myself with that. What I'm concerned with is taking people, prospective clients, to those projects and showing them how beautiful they're being built. Not what they look like after. I can always show you a picture. I like to show you during the project, like watch this thing being built. Isn't this cool? Look at all these people walking around here doing this. Like, isn't this great? It's very organized, nice, neat job sites. Everybody's working safely. That's the way it should be done.
Awesome. So in life, sometimes there's this aha moment where you've been working on something and all of a sudden you get this big insight and you're like, that's the answer. That's what I've been looking for. Could you share an example in your life and what that was like? Tell us a story.
Well, it happened about 5 years ago when I realized that I needed to take up a hobby. And what did I do? I thought, an instrument. I've always wanted to be an electric guitar player. So I got an acoustic guitar and I asked my son to teach me 3 chords because I've always thought that rock and roll is just 3 chords and the truth. So he taught me 3 chords. I think it was Whatever Is Wild Thing. And I kept strumming and strumming and strumming. And I have to say, and now I play the electric guitar and I'm a lot better than I was 5 years ago. So I'm happy I started there. And there's 2 best times to start the electric guitar, and that's 20 years ago or today. So if you're thinking about it, just pick it up.
And your aha moment, the reason why that was such a great insight for you?
Oh, I read an article in the New York Times that said that as you're getting older, that you should develop some sort of a hobby to keep your brain together.
Keep your brain happening, huh?
Yeah. So now I'm going to be a wicked garage rocker.
Awesome. Fantastic. Love it. Call it Michael's Garage. All right.
It's better than the other name that somebody gave me. They said, why don't you call it the festering splinter?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Not
gonna draw a fan base there. So we might go with Michael's Garage Rockers.
Yeah. Michael Garage is a lot better. All right, we're going to enter what we call the Pulsar round, where we're going to ask you a series of questions and looking for your short, succinct, amazing, and mind-blowing answers. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
All right. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Don't marry her.
Don't marry early.
No, her.
Oh, don't marry her?
Yes.
Oh, whoa.
You asked.
That was a good one, huh? Did you take it?
No.
And you regretted it later, eh?
No, just pretty life goes on, right?
Oh, okay. Hey, these things happen, but okay. Different conversation for another day. All right. Personal habit that contributes to your success.
Getting up early.
Get up early. Early bird catches the worm, huh?
Well, that's a good start. Usually it's the bowl of oatmeal in the morning. That could be the second thing.
Usually it was,
right.
What was that?
The bowl of oatmeal.
The bowl of oatmeal.
If you don't catch the worm, it's the oatmeal. So
the oatmeal in the morning. Okay. Are you early to bed and early to rise, by the way? Or?
Not early to rise. Let's put it that way. So
no matter how late the bed, you're still early to rise.
You got to get up. Yep. Take the donuts.
There you go. Make it happen. All right. An internet resource you'd care to share?
Instagram. I think that Instagram, because of the business that we're in, Instagram is perfect. We're a very visual business. We build things like this. Even the pictures of that under construction, it's just, I don't know, for lack of a better word, it's sexy. We're fortunate to have that kind of an industry. So we can put all kinds of things on Instagram. Instagram's been great for us.
And when you're talking about this, and for folks who aren't watching this but are just listening, Michael is pointing to a horse farm, which is very idyllic and very peaceful and wonderful looking. So,
did I say Murphy Brothers also builds equestrian facilities? I must have said that.
You did say that, as a matter of fact, and it is a beautiful facility.
Beautiful, award-winning equestrian facilities. Yes,
facilities. Amazing. All right, how about a book you'd recommend for people and why?
I'd recommend the book that I just finished reading, and that's Tom Petty's biography. And that's because Tom Petty's somebody that you can imagine. I knew nothing about Tom Petty other than I think I heard a few of his songs on the radio. So you just wasn't on my radar. But I read this book about him, and I think that I become a huge fan. But at the same time, also he was very persistent in his desire to make really good music. So I'm inspired by his persistence to actually do something really well. Now, I don't know if Tom Petty knows how to hit a baseball or cook a meal, or I don't know what else. I don't know how he is as a father or anything else, but I do know that he is very good at doing that one thing because he persisted.
Yeah, I only got turned on to Tom a few years ago, actually, and I was just amazed. And actually, he's one of the musicians I listen to almost constantly these
Running
days.
Down a Dream. What a song.
Running Down the Dream.
Yep.
What a great song. And I just saw him actually on a friend's Facebook for his birthday. He had posted a past piece with Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, and a host of other people playing some incredible music. So he's played with all the greats, and there's just some amazing pieces out there. So Tom Petty, his life history. Thank you very much, Michael. All right. If you had a magic wand and you could wave it and change one thing for everyone in the world, what would it be?
Good one, Ron. What do people normally say?
People say,
I wish everyone was, I wish everybody got along with their kids. Boom.
oh,
There it is. That
that's a good
everyone got along with their kids.
Nice. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Actually, it's a beautiful thing when it happens.
It is. Almost never happens through the teenage years, but eventually, hopefully, they come around, and it still does happen even in the teenage years with some folks. But yeah, it is great when you have a good relationship with your kids, and if you go through the trials and tribulations of teenagehood, don't worry. Usually on the other side, there's something where they wake up and realize that you actually do know a little bit more than they thought you knew. So it's a good
Of course,
experience.
if I could say one more thing too, is that like for instance, I maybe had mentioned that Westchester County has an affordable housing problem, which I'm sure is probably rampant throughout, the urban area, the urban centers in the United States. And it's difficult, but we got to work this out. We have to have good housing for people. And I guess I can say that because we're in the housing business, we build houses and places where people live, work, play. But I think we need to do a better job in that area there.
All right. So affordable housing for everybody. Absolutely. Wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful dream.
That's my second one.
That's a good one. All right. We call this the WTF or F section, weather time fudge, an extreme weather event that you lived through, and tell us the tale of your harrowing experience in survival, or weather time fun, the most fun you've ever had, and the type of weather it was. So take your choice. Which one would you like to pick, sir? And tell us a story.
Oh, living through a weather event, I think that I'd have to say the one that comes to mind is Hurricane Sandy. What the insurance industry likes to call Superstorm Sandy, because they don't want to call it a hurricane. Although if you were in the middle of that, I don't know what a hurricane is, but I think that was a hurricane. And we are living in Westchester County. We decided we're going to stay at home, and no one told us to evacuate. But man, that was something. It was weird going through it because it was so intense. And then walking outside afterwards and seeing the aftermath was even more intense, because obviously we like to try to forget the bad stuff. So we put the storm behind us, but walking outside and seeing the devastation in our area throughout Westchester County was unbelievable. And then to take it one step further, at that time, the people were like clamoring as to what do they do? How do we help people get back to our whatever normal happens to be? So we hooked up with Habitat for Humanity, Jim Caloran, who runs an organization in our area here. We went out to Breezy Point in Queens, and talk about devastation. There's an old saying that I complain about having no shoes, so I met the man that had no feet. They had no feet. It was just unbelievable. It's something we don't normally see in the Northeast up here. So
yeah, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of these extreme weather events happening everywhere, where the greenhouse gases are fueling all this excess energy in the atmosphere, and we're seeing bigger storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, droughts, floods. I mean, just all these extreme, including polar vortices down in Texas, freezing up everything. So these are the types of events that we're all starting to live through, and it's why that makes clean energy so important, because energy is responsible for 90% of the greenhouse gases we put out there. So every step has an impact. Every step has an impact. And thank you for sharing.
But now on the good side, I'd say that the weather event, I'd have to say, was back in January of 2020. Seems like a year ago. We were in Death Valley in January, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I mean, here it was. This is Death Valley is a place where it gets up to 120 degrees. Humidity rates of like under 10%. It's like a desert out there, but it was just the most beautiful climate. It's amazing how climates will change from season to season to season, and it was amazing. Beautiful place. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, the world has an incredible amount of beauty and wonder, and all sorts of incredible weather and seasonal and those parts of the world that does that. And yeah, I mean, we take a lot of it for granted, but a lot of it is changing. And what we need to do is to get ahead of the curve and get some clean energy going, take the carbon out of the atmosphere so we can just have semi-natural, livable conditions all year, all world round. So, all right, cool. Well, what's the one thing you're most energized about today, Mr. Murphy?
Well, the one thing that I'm most energized today, Ron, is that that I don't know if they know this on the podcast, but it is Friday. And I'm so delighted. We had a great week here at Murphy Brothers Contracting, made a lot of good contacts, looking at a lot of great jobs, able to help a lot of people, in what we do, and that's in construction. So we're delighted that we can look back on it and say, it has been a great week. So,
and beyond this one great week, are you energized about anything that's happening, like, overall, that you just think is, hey, this is great, we're really heading in the right direction with something?
Well, actually, one thing I am happy about is that, Earth Day is coming up on the 22nd, and we've been able to facilitate two organizations that we belong to in helping put together what I think are some real meaty panel discussions on where energy efficiency is today, shedding some light on it. One is with the New York State Self-Storage Association, of which we're members, and the other one is with the Building and Realty Institute, of which we're all of Westchester and the Hudson Valley, which we're members of also. The New York State Self-Storage Association, the topic is going to be on operating a green facility, save money, save the planet. And with the BRI, the topic is going to be on, it's a panel of architects that will be discussing the challenges that they have in getting their investor developers to incorporate energy efficiency and green technology into their construction projects. And I'm delighted to have Ron Kamen of Earthkind Energy and the Earthkind webinar platform to be also part of that presentation. So.
And thank you for that, Mr. Murphy. You are too fun. And by the time people hear that, they will be in the past, but that'll be a great thing.
No, but it kind of gives them an idea of what we do. We're always looking forward to that. They'll always, that's April. We'll have something in May. We'll have something in June and July, because, and I like that working, because we do work together on some of these webinars that we put together, that that we don't look at ourselves as educators as much as facilitators, because, it's changing all the time. It's changing all the time. You just want to be, provide an educational platform for people to look and go, wow, really? That's what's going on now. Isn't that great? So I applaud you for what you do, and I thank you for how you've helped us put together our things.
And I feel the same about you, Mr. Murphy. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And let's end a piece of parting advice for people. And if you want folks to get a hold of you, the best way for them to do so, sir.
Well, I will give you my email address. It's michael@murphybrothers.com. If you want to email me directly, if you want to talk to Murphy Brothers about possibly doing a project or talking about a project that you have in consideration right now, you would call 914-777-5777. That's 914-777-5777. Parting advice: all I can say is hang in there. It's getting better.
Outstanding. Anything we missed, Miss Murphy, that you wanted to say?
No, I'm good, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And it's been a delight being on the show here today and to spend a little bit of time with the Earth Kind Energy podcast audience. I'm sure that they're a hearty group of great people, and hopefully I'll get to meet you on either live and something in the future. Who knows? This podcast thing may turn into like a TED Talk kind of thing, eh?
It's a wonderful thing.
Wouldn't that be great?
More than half the country listens to podcasts. Not half the country listening to this podcast, but hopefully as time goes along, more and more will, and hopefully
it only gets better.
A little bit of value. Yes, indeed. And it is a pleasure. And Michael Murphy Brothers Contracting, doing outstanding work throughout the Westchester, Hudson Valley, Lower Connecticut area. Thank you, sir, for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge, expertise, and insights.
Thanks for joining us today, awesome people. At awesomeearthkind.com, you'll find tips and resources on how to reduce your energy costs and have a positive environmental impact. You can also enter our monthly sweepstakes for a high-efficiency LED light fixture. If you're interested in becoming an Earthkind Energy consulting partner, go to awesomeearthkind.com/earn. When you refer us to a commercial building and they decide to go clean and save green with Earthkind Energy's consulting services, your referral will save money and you will earn finder's fees worth thousands of dollars. If you're interested in starting your own clean energy consulting business, sign up to be notified of the Clean Energy Business Partner that we're launching in May. This intensive program will provide you with the tools you need to start your own clean energy consulting business in the fast-growing $7 trillion clean energy sector. Today's podcast was co-sponsored by New Energy Nexus. New Energy Nexus strives to create an abundant world with a 100% clean energy economy for 100% of the population in the shortest time possible. The future of clean energy is 100% for the 100%. Become part of the solution by going to newenergynexus.com. Remember, you are an awesome force of nature and can make a real difference. Take your next step to create the clean energy future we all want and our children need and deserve. Until next time, take care, be well, and energize.